Good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever. Shall we change that? How about just hello everyone and welcome to my studio. Now today we've got something a little bit different. We're going to be doing a pen and wash, but with a little bit more of an illustration feel to it with this little street scene. So let me explain. Now I had a lovely email from Anne Carter, who's making a collection of paintings of Jelly Bean Row, which are several streets of brightly coloured houses in St. John's, Newfoundland. Now there's some debate for the reason for this, because this can also be seen in many Scandinavian coastal towns and villages. Now it's suggested that what it does is it helps guide the sailors and fishermen back into the harbour, as it's much easier to spot all these lovely bright colours. Or maybe it's just because the people of St. John's are bright and colourful people. Anyway, whatever the reason, I thought it would make a really nice and interesting line and wash. So what I did, I jumped on a plane and I flew to Newfoundland. Okay, so not quite, but I went there virtually, on Google Maps. Now this can be a great resource for artists. As I discovered recently, you're allowed to use images from Google Maps as long as you give them a credit. So I put on my walking boots and I wandered around until I found a view I liked. Yeah, that looks quite jolly. So just before we start, a couple of quick announcements. I've had quite a few people ask me if they can share their paintings that they've done from my tutorials. So we've started a Facebook sharing page so people can comment on each other's work. Link is in the description below. So we'll be putting up news stories and just general information and lots of nice good art stuff so we can all get involved. Now Margot, who's my other half, she's going to be helping me run this, and she's a pretty good watercolour artist in her own right. This is one of her paintings. So she'll help with general advice and encouragement. And then one final thing, there is another Paul Clark artist. Now he's based down in Cornwall in the West Country, and he runs the Artishoe Gallery. So check him out, he's got some lovely stuff. Different from me, but it's just that there's been some confusion. I've been getting his stuff, he's been getting mine. So I just wanted to make that plain. I mean, I really blame my parents for giving me such a common name. I mean, why couldn't they call me Raphael Clark or Winslow Clark?
Get on with it.
Shall we get going? Okay, so here is another non-sponsored paint review. Today, this is two products from the Dutch company Royal Talens. This is their Van Gogh or Van Gogh student range of 12 pans, and we'll save those for another day. This is the 12 colour set of artist quality Rembrandt watercolours. It comes in this very swish cardboard box and a metal tin with these neatly wrapped pans, and the colours included are cerulean blue, ultramarine deep, permanent madder lake, cadmium red medium, azo yellow deep, cadmium lemon yellow, permanent green, viridian, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, sepia and Payne's grey. So I won't be using all these colours, but I will list the ones that I use. So this is how I like to stage my line and washes. So start with a pencil drawing, and this is just an HB. It's more complicated than it looks because we're basically looking directly at the front of the houses. There's very little perspective to worry about. All the horizontals are flat and all the verticals are nice and straight. But you can download free of charge from my website a drawing template. Link in the description below. Okay, so now for the ink, and I'm using a 0.8 Staedtler pen. What's important is that the pen you use is permanent or waterproof. So here I'm just simply drawing the first few lines in real time, but I'll speed up the process in a moment or you'll just die of boredom. What's important when drawing buildings is to try not to be too neat and precise, or your work will look more like an architect's plan than a piece of art. So really try and get some movement and wobble in your line work. When drawing in roof tiles, you don't need to draw in every line. Always leave something for the viewer to imagine. As we know, less is always more. Now for those sharp-eyed amongst you, you may have noticed a different pen. Now this one is just a little thicker for a slightly bolder line. You'll also find that using cold press or a rough watercolour paper will help to give your lines that lovely broken textured feel. It's the same with the cladding boards here on the front. You don't need to draw on every one. Just keep your pen moving. The less neat and straight you are, the more quirky and interesting your work will look. So here I'm just using a soft putty rubber or an eraser and taking out all my pencil lines. Now we're ready to paint. So to start with, I'm wetting the sky area with clean water using my flat brush, which is perfect for painting around those straight edges. Next, straight in wet with some cerulean blue, leaving some gaps for clouds. Next with some permanent green. Now usually I will mix my greens, but this is a good opportunity to use it straight from the pan, and it's certainly got some oomph. Here I've just added a touch of ultramarine blue and dropping it in for a few darker values. Next, this is the lemon yellow, and so as I can get as much paint down as quickly as possible, I'm using my number 12 brush. So over here is the ultramarine. Now what's nice about doing these line and washes is you've done most of the hard work with your pen, so this colouring in stage can be very enjoyable and relaxing. Now for this purple. Now if you have a good purple straight from the tube or pan, please use it, but I've used a 50-50 mix of permanent madder lake and ultramarine. Then I've just added a touch of Payne's Grey to darken it here at the bottom. Now for some cadmium red with a touch of madder added. Now all these washes I'm trying to paint nice and flat, so I'm using slightly more water than paint to allow the colour to move and dry flat. Now it's not exact, but it's about a 60% water, 40% paint ratio. Add in a touch of yellow ochre to the red and paint in these planters. And a little sepia here for the shadows. Now for the roof, and this is just some watery Payne's Grey. Now into my Payne's Grey, I'm adding just a little bit of sepia to warm the colour up for this roof to give it a slightly different colour. And here a much more diluted wash of that same colour, and then dropping in wet some Payne's Grey. Now this is just Payne's grey again, and I'm continuing on to the windows. And a much stronger value here for the doors and shadows in the windows. So now we need to let this totally dry. So it's a perfect time for a short break and a glass of Newfoundland's own Yellow Belly Pale Ale. Now as this side of the building is slightly in shadow, I'm going to give it a second layer or glaze of the ultramarine blue. And now for the plants, and I've mixed this green from the Azo Yellow and the ultramarine. Then adding in slightly more blue to give a few darker shadows. Now this is the sepia, and I'm really liking the strength of colour with these Rembrandt paints. I'm also using it for the shadows here around the doors. And now back to my Payne's grey for some shadows and some further details. And again, just the odd tile on the roof, and your eye will naturally fill in the rest. Here is just a touch of yellow ochre. So now I've finished the painting stage, I can now determine whether I need to bring out some of the line work with my pen. And yep, I think we do need to. So I'll just speed up this section again. And now for my white pastel pencil, which now comes included in my 2 brush sets, and just add in a few lighter values into the tiles. And now with my soft pastels, we can add in some lovely flowers. And there we have it. I think we're finished. So just a quick word about the Rembrandt paints. Now I think they're pretty much what you would expect from an artist quality paint. I didn't really put them through their paces in this demo, but they mix very well, very vibrant, great choice of colours, and I was pleased to see that 2 colours weren't wasted by adding a black and a white. Good value for money. This set was about 32 UK pounds, so it's a good way to try them out before investing in perhaps a larger set. So generally I would say top notch. Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did and you'll give it a go. It's a little bit different from most weeks, but it's great fun. So please don't forget to do all the usuals: like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I look forward to seeing you all again next week. So take care, stay safe, cheers now.